Welcome, everyone, to What the Force. I'm Marie-Claire Gould, your host, and this is Bad Batch Report, where we are going to be covering episodes 3 and 4 of The Bad Batch. And joining me for this week is my good friend, Michelle, from the Unknown Regions podcast. Welcome,
Hello.
Michelle, to What the Force.
Hi. I'm so excited. Finally, we meet.
Unfortunately, Molly couldn't make it today. She had some traveling personal life snafu situations, but we're hoping to have her back soon. But we have Michelle, who is constantly DMing each other about symbolism and cool things that are happening within the Star Wars universe. So I thought that she would be a great add to have on What the Force. So thank you, Michelle.
Thank you. Is an honor to finally be on What the Force. One of the very first Star Wars podcasts I ever listened to, ever. You guys, or you and the guys on Blast Points were my first two podcasts.
Oh, yeah, Jason and Gabe.
Yeah.
They're good boys.
They are good boys.
They're very
tall. Jason's birthday. Happy birthday, Jason.
Happy birthday, Jason. Yeah. He's very tall. I have this picture of me, and he tried to shrink down to my height, but he's doing like this massive like squat like leg extension.
I know.
And he's still taller than me. And I'm not like a short human, so
you're taller than me, I believe.
I think so. Yeah. So yeah.
I've tried to have pictures with them. Yeah, I've tried to have pictures with them too, and they're like scrunching like little old men trying to get in the frame.
It's very hard to get in frame with them. They're larger than life men.
They are.
All right, let's dig into the solitary clone, which of course is the Crosshair is sad episode. We assume he's sad. Maybe he's not sad. Maybe he likes murder. I don't think so.
I don't think so.
It's hard to be rejected by your fellow brothers every which way.
I guess he's pretty sad in this one. He can't even get a good meal. Like, it's poor guy. Don't you feel bad? I'm very glad they didn't hold out. Remember season 1? It was like how many episodes before we caught back up with him, and everybody's like, "Where's Crosshair?" So thank goodness. I was actually shocked it was this episode so soon, but glad.
I think they maybe have been listening, and maybe this was a further along episode, and they just pulled it forward because it doesn't really. I don't think it really matters as long as whatever happens in these events plays into later events. Mm-hmm. It happens beforehand, so we can know he's here, right? He's okay. Mm-hmm. He's just depressed. All right, so we start on the separatist world of D6. It's of course its own. It looks like they're doing some sort of industrialization or mining or manufacturing of some sort. I'm not sure 100% what we're doing with this complex, but
it was a little. It was curious because it's like they're step farming or something.
Yeah.
It was very interesting,
but it was also very dusty. So I got the impression it was mining. So maybe, but it is self asserted separatist planet and does not want to be part of the Empire. The Empire shows up with Governor Groton. He's like, "I demand you step down, person who I don't recognize at all." And this is like the gall of the Empire. Just absolutely not being very smart about situations and just assuming they're going to get their way.
She's not having it. Not even a nanosecond not having it. So, and I thought it was very funny. I actually thought that man's name was Governor Rotten because I didn't have my closed caption on at first.
Right.
I'm like, is his literal name Rotten? And I turned it on. I'm like, oh, it's Groton. So they got real exciting and put a G before Rotten.
Yeah, I mean,
which I thought was funny.
Naming in the Star Wars universe is sometimes like completely on the nose.
It's so funny.
So I think it was just like he's rotten, but fancy.
French rotten.
Yeah, and we're introduced to the woman who identifies herself as the current governor, Tsuut'ina Ames. And
Honey Ames. That's a good name. I like that name.
I immediately went, wait a second. This is important. When I saw her name after the show.
It's very not, it's not exactly a Star Wars name. It's cool. It's a pretty name.
It's so close to a Star Wars name and a significant Camino name. Tonwi.
Oh, Ton. Yeah, there's the Ton. Yep.
It's like they switched the middle syllables. Isn't that interesting?
And I thought Dusix, that's very close to Ferrix. Like they could be in the same system practically. You know what I mean? You know how sometimes the planets are so similarly named when they're close together?
And it has kind of the vibes of like this working class planet.
Very much.
Yeah. And so she absolutely refuses, and she has her own, battalion of battle droids, and is just like, you brought like 3 guys. I'm not gonna
dummy.
listen to you. Yeah, you dummy. Yeah. I actually think like we do need to call out that Tonwi was like sort of like the mother of the Kaminoans, and in some ways so in charge. Like she's the main feminine figure we see in Attack of the Clones on Camino. And like this is a strong female person who is, running this planet. It's just, there's some interesting parallels that are happening.
I'm wondering what your thoughts are regarding her and the fact that she's not only helmeted, but has a voice changer as well. That's a choice. Yeah. Like, that's a very specific choice that they made to put her in a helmet and change her voice.
I mean, masking always is to present a set of power, or like in feminine people, typically you have power presented in a mask with makeup or with costuming. To do masking in Star Wars is always to hide your true self, right? And the fact that she reveals herself to Governor Groton later on, as a pretty attractive woman, right? Is really interesting. I also kind of wonder if like maybe what they do on the planet is actually quite toxic, and she's like, I'm just going to protect myself. And you guys can all like be like not safe, not wearing masks that protect you.
I never thought about that, actually. That's a good point too.
So I'm not saying she's a good person. That's also like, I don't get the impression that she's necessarily a good person. She's just potentially a better choice for the people of the planet than the Empire.
Right. I mean, she is a Dooku stan.
Yeah.
So that was also a choice to make her not just a separatist, but to be like Dooku all the way, Dooku. Like she's practically chanting his name. She loves him so much, it seems like.
They dated in high school. It was fun.
That could be. You don't know. I mean, maybe after he broke up with the librarian lady whose name is not in my brain at the moment.
Castanu.
Castanu, that's the one. There is an awful lot of putting on of masks, taking off of masks, putting them back on, taking them off in this episode, like more than even usual, I feel like.
Yeah, and masks are always like a, literally persona, right? Who am I pretending to be to the outside world? And when I take it off, I'm showing more of my true self. We get this a lot with Vader. We get this a lot with Kylo. Right. It's a lot more apparent because of the dark side actions. But like when Cody chooses to take off his mask, the fact that his mask is still an older version, who he chooses to share his face with when he chooses to share his face with, we do get a lot of that. So it is tying into identity and persona and trying to connect human to human. And it's interesting. You're right.
There's a couple of really quiet moments with Crosshair too, where he's maybe they should change the name of this to the depressed clone, like you were saying. He's sitting in his bunk.
He's looking at his mask.
He's just like hung dog, and the mask is sitting there and he's just kind of looking at it. And I think that, I might be wrong. That might happen more than once. And that might happen in both the opening part and the kind of bookend, at the end. But,
the mask also represents his choices and his weight of his responsibility and you know, kind of everything. And I think it does come down to the line at the end of the episode, you know, where Cody says, you know, where the difference between us and droids is, you know, we make our own choices, our own decisions, and we have to live with them.
This episode really, really made me sad. Like, it's really, I told Colin, my son, earlier, I think this not only right at the top of my favorite episodes from this show, but possibly, like, we're talking top 15, top 20 of all the animated shows. Because it just kind of hit me in this episode of what, I don't mean to like jump the gun, but and like jump to like the big heady ideas of this episode, but it felt like a little bit of a gut punch, because I just kind of registered with me that very few clones even know that they have these chips. Yeah. Right. It's not like this, they're going around telling them, oh, by the way, you all have chips in your heads. It's only like the select few that know this. So you've got Cody walking around thinking that he killed his mentor, best friend in his, you know, his general, and doesn't even understand why he did it. Yep. And now he's just kind of like waking up, realizing what he did. Oh my God, this is a lot. It is a lot.
Yeah, and there's like ripples of realization in this episode. It's really well constructed, and it sort of comes down to like what we get when we are presented with Crosshair as he wakes up and he is experiencing intense emotional and social isolation, even from the other clones, is we have absolutely a call to the fact that Crosshair is a prisoner of the dominator culture, and specifically patriarchy. Like, he is absolutely stuck. And I have some Bell Hooks quotes from The Will to Change, which I'm going to sprinkle throughout the episode because it absolutely ties into how the clones are presented as programmed men who have been mutilated to become the tools of a violent empire, and have been told that they only have this one option, right? Good soldiers follow orders, and that it's important that they are not droids. This is reiterated throughout the episode by pairing them against droids. It's important that they are not droids because it means they can change and they can make different choices. Droids can too, but it's a lot harder for them. So the quote I wanted to use use right now is, because of how the clones were raised, basically from birth to be soldiers, masses of boys and men have been programmed from birth to believe that at some point they must be violent, whether psychologically or physically, to prove that they are men. The patriarchy demands all men must engage in acts of psychic mutilation, that they kill off those emotional parts of themselves.
I'm so sorry. I think George must have read that. Honest to God. I mean, it's literally, you might as well just put that down in the clone handbook. That's their MO. Like, they have no other choice, they think, you know, and they didn't really need one, to be honest. They thought they were doing the right thing when they were in the Republic. They didn't have to worry about it, making a choice against, you know, not wanting to participate in that. But yeah, it's exactly that.
But like, being told that you must be this way or you have no purpose. This is your only purpose, is to be violent, is the patriarchy, is what we do to our young men in our culture. And it's becoming this greater theme and greater parallel to a conversation that we need to have about the larger patriarchy. You notice that the Bad Batch never kill people.
Right.
Right? Well, they've started to move away from that, except for Wrecker, who I'm sure he is not as careful as he needs to be, but he will work on that too, right? Like, it is a journey towards not being violent, because you can't be violent and love the thing you are being violent to. Those two things cannot exist together. And so there is this greater theme of wanting to break away from the dominator culture, which requires you to be a dominator and be disconnected from your feelings and your love of others. And we see that shown to us this episode. It is shown. Wow.
Yeah. This is such a good episode.
So
good. So good. And it even, I mean, that theme, what you just said, the next episode, episode 4, the racing one, good time episode, right? Like fun,
Yeah.
very much less heavy than this one. But the same theme
Yeah.
comes around when Tech gets rid of the weapons and on the ship. Like he's like, this is not only not, I don't need them, but they're actually hindering me. I don't need them. And the droid is like, you're dumb. Don't do that. He basically tells him, you don't know what you're talking about. And then, yeah, it's such a major theme with the Bad Batch about them softening and having feelings for Omega, even for Sid now. It's and
reconnecting with their ability to love themselves, primarily each other, and Omega, who represents the future. So good.
And is themselves. She's a freaking clone.
Yeah, she's their
I love this show, Marie-Claire.
Feminine side, right? Always.
I love this show so much.
Their growing feminine side. Like literally their growing anima is sitting with them on the ship.
No big deal.
She's like, I'm just growing up. And they're like, we're going to nurture you. And like from a metatextual perspective, this show is being shown to, like, it's not, I actually don't think this show is meant for kids. I think this show is meant for middle-aged men who need to understand that they've been disconnected from their feelings. I actually know no kids that watch this show and enjoy it.
This show is a sneaky Pete.
No, it's a Trojan horse. Pete. I mean, most of Disney's shows are Trojan horses for middle-aged men who need to reconnect with their emotionally mutilated selves, who can't connect and love themselves.
And I do feel like the ones that need it the most are the ones that think the show is stupid and they don't want to even care about it. They do occasionally, I do hear like, rumblings of like, especially this one. Oh, it was great. It was such a Clone Wars, special throwback, which it was.
It was, yeah.
And it was that whole portion of the episode I loved. I loved every second of it. It was all great. But like, you're missing the point, dude.
Yeah. I mean, that's okay. I mean, if it plants the seed, if they have to spread the field with 1 million seeds and one seed grows, it's still worth it, in my opinion. Okay, so Crosshair is given an assignment. He is called by his, number. He is given an assignment by Vice Admiral Rampart. Do you, Michelle, have a first name for Vice Admiral Rampart?
I did text you one, didn't I? What was it? I don't even remember now. We gotta look it up. Sorry, told you my memory.
Okay. I can ask you at the end of the episode too, because he comes back, right? And he's told, I don't trust you because you're not very good at commanding people. Because command also takes a care, like you have to care for the people underneath you. There's a little bit of that aspect too, and so he puts him under Commander Cody, and they meet at the War Memorial.
I love all of this entirely too much. All of this scene is just
so much cool iconography on this base. There's the military flags. There's the troopers that are standing guard in the stone of this very old school. Like this was chiseled into rock, and it's standing in the middle of the sort of base. And this makes me think of something I've been talking a lot with Missy on Following Willow, about the House of Atreus, which is the concept that there is a curse on the galaxy, that you must sacrifice the children.
Yikes, really?
Yeah. It's the House of Atreus.
I don't know. Can you give me like a quick rundown of that? I don't know that story.
So it is from the House of Tantalus, and they are a Greek household that is cursed to basically sacrifice their children in one way or another. And the House of Atreus is a theme that shows up in a lot of Western media, where children will be basically die as part of the story. And Star Wars has the House of Atreus curse.
Over and over again. Yeah. Over and over again. Generation after generation.
Yeah, and so it's really fascinating to see this compared to Willow, and how essentially the Bad Batch as a group is saying Omega must live. The child must live. And in the end, their entire piece will have to be to bring Crosshair home and not have him die.
No, I'm not. He's not going to die.
Yeah.
Not only is he not going to die.
He's not ready.
He's totally not ready, but
it is related to consumption, which is sort of in Star Wars is often comes out in the story as mining, right? But the clones themselves are bred to be consumed by the dark side,
right?
To die. And so it is this concept. Missy and I are planning on doing a whole like Power of Myth and Symbolism on it, but start to pay attention to when you see people basically being brought up to die in Star Wars. It's really fascinating. And
they are an industry. They were an industry.
Yeah.
They were all wrapped up in like the banking clan, and they needed more money so that they could make, support the, it was an industry.
Yeah, exactly. And so when you have this idea that children must be sacrificed, it is this theme of consumption and how you're basically eating, and it's greed, and it's the dark side in another way. Yeah.
So do you, I guess in my mind, there's two schools of thought as to what's going to happen with the overall story of the clones.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think there's going to be like a full-on rebellion?
Yes.
Or you do think so?
Yeah. It'll be the clones, it won't be the troopers, and it'll be the final straw that like makes it so the troopers are fully recruited.
Okay. So
and then they get into the habits of basically recruiting troopers as teenagers and young children, and raising them to be part of the army because they can't avoid killing the children.
And then the First Order does the same thing.
Exactly, yeah. So it's really, really like,
cheerful.
But it's a really important theme to see Star Wars do, and then to see when Star Wars is like, nah, we ain't gonna do that anymore.
Yeah,
they haven't successfully done it yet.
No, that was another atrocity that they didn't finally and for once and for all just be like, no, we're not going to do that anymore, and we're going to have the troopers rebel and everything's going to be better. But we didn't get that. But I hope that we do get that in this story.
Oh, absolutely. They're going to do a clone trooper, liberation, I think. Yeah.
I don't think it's going to end well, though.
No, I think a lot of people will die in the way. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if the Bad Batch will actually make it out the other side. I don't know.
Oh, God, please.
I mean, I don't like. Okay, so like in how they've set it up, right? The only one that needs to survive is Omega. I mean, I think they all need to survive. Truthfully, I think it would be a mistake to kill them, but it's a big galaxy. They could escape.
Of course.
Yeah,
that's I'm pinning my star to that.
But we have Echo, who's like, guys, we got to care about the galaxy. He's like a bodhisattva. It's really wonderful. Mm-hmm. He's like, I can't leave other people suffering. I understand what suffering is like. God, I love him so much.
He's amazing. Oh, yeah, I'm so glad we're getting more of him too this season.
We have the really interesting interaction between Cody and Crosshair, and Cody's still like kind of clinging on to his way of thinking about the world. He sort of just confirms, hey, good soldiers follow orders. It's the first battle memorial that they meet at, which I guess would the first battle be Geonosis? Yeah. Yeah.
I did a little digging on that monument just because I knew I'd seen it before in Clone Wars at some point, but it wasn't like a centerpiece like it was for this episode. Mm-hmm. And it is made of polished stone from Geonosis with the names of clones that died in the Battle of Geonosis carved
so cool.
It. So cool. But I have a question about that conversation that they have, and wondering what your take is, because I didn't really feel this way the first time I watched it, but maybe like the second time I did, and then I watched it again, I was like, oh, maybe so. So after I watched it the first time, watched it the second time. Cody kind of seems like, to me, he's feeling out Crosshair regarding going AWOL. So it makes me wonder if he was already kind of sort of considering doing it, even at this early in the episode, because he's kind of like, I specifically requested you to be on this team. They confirm that.
Yep.
I mean, Cody requests Crosshair to be on the team. And then the way, first of all, D. Bradley Baker, as Cody in this episode, nobody needs to say how great he is. We all know how great he is. But this particular performance of Cody in this episode, good Lord, man.
Yeah, I absolutely think you're correct. So like
good.
he had in like requested him. He brings up the topic of Clone Force 99 going AWOL, and
he's kind of like, word is pause a little bit. The rest of the Clone Force 99 went rogue after Order 66. What do you think about that?
Like, how did you get left behind? Kind of almost questioning. Yeah,
exactly.
But he very much, like, when you get the vibe you're not on the same page as somebody that you're talking to, he very much understands that Crosshair is not in that situation. What I find super fascinating is Crosshair uses names. He calls him Commander Cody. He calls him Cody to Rampart. He understands the individualization of the clones and is almost like in denial of what is happening to him.
Right. He specifically, there's a little moment with Rampart where Rampart's like, who? When he calls him Commander Cody, he's like, who are you talking about? He's like, you know who I'm talking about, you jerk face. But, whatever his call number is.
he wants to remove that individualization from them. Yeah, no. And I also think that it will be interesting to see if at some point Crosshair is forced into armor that is more like the regs. Because like
I was going to ask you about that too. Yeah. What do you think about this fact that he still has it's not as individualized as it was when he was with his bros, but it's still individualized.
Yeah. Like Commander Cody still has his old clone armor. It's just no longer yellow. I think that's on the cards. Like, I think that's a stripping away of his personality, and it will show him more of the persona that he is choosing to uplift and the institution, this dominator culture that he is choosing to help enable.
That might be the deal breaker, He's like, if you're going to make me give up my sick, awesome helmet, forget you.
Yeah, like I have this tricked out, like,
I'm out of here, man.
Yeah, exactly. So they travel to the Separatist world, and, Cody briefs him on what they're planning on doing. They're planning on negotiating, going in there and doing what they need to do, but it's kind of all under this guise. And they don't expect us to be, trying to do an Uno reversi on them. And like Governor Grotten's like, these guys.
Yeah.
I love her so much.
They'll never see it coming. And she's like, oh, I'm just about to shoot them down out of the sky. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. And they're like, problem. Wait a second. You saw us coming. And she's like, yeah, I did.
Yep, sure did.
Yeah.
By the way, I found the first name that I had for Rampart.
Okay.
It's Glarus.
Glarus
Rampart.
Glarus at Rampart. I like it.
Definitely his name. It's definitely his name. And the only reason I thought of that is because anytime I hear the word rampart, it's a word in the Star Spangled Banner that I never knew what a rampart was as a little kid. When you're singing this song, you're like, what the heck's a rampart? So anyway, the rocket's red glare. So his name's Glarus. For sure. He's American. For sure.
He's very American. Isn't he a speaker with a British accent? It doesn't matter. He's American. I don't know.
Maybe a little bit. It seems like a fake British accent. I don't really.
Yeah, he's just fauxing it in to try and seem. He's like, I met Tarkin once, and so
I'm a fanboy. Now I'm gonna have this bad British accent.
Yeah, exactly. And so we get this really cool scene between Governor Groton and Governor Ames. And she takes off her mask and she almost like taunts him. It's so cool. And she's like, Count Dooku said that the Galactic Republic would collapse and be replaced by the Galactic Empire. Yeah, I mean, he was kind of playing inside baseball on that one a little bit.
Little does she know that, of course he knew, because he was basically causing it to happen. It's not that deep, Tawny.
Yeah, not you were not aware of all of the things going on. And so, she has a tactical droid. She has, one of the droid tanks. She has
droidicas. She's got droidicas.
She's got the droidicas. She's got the super battle droids, I think, or the ones that can actually are very flexible.
The hand-to-hand ones. Yeah. Those are creepy and scary, by the way.
Yeah, it's great. She's got all of the fun toys, and they've all been reprogrammed to be good. And so,
not at all similar to the clone storyline at all. No, not at all.
No,
I'm sure that's not a reference.
No.
I'm sure that's not a metaphor.
But I think that it's paired specifically in this way to go through and feel like a Clone Wars episode. So you're going through all of these emotions to have Cody and Crosshair working together in this mission, but then it doesn't end the way it's supposed to end.
Right. It's
right? Nothing
flipped.
is the same, right? And they get shot down, thanks to Crosshair being just really smart. He's like, we'll hide and then we'll go and sneak into the building, and he pulls off these he is the Legolas of Star Wars.
He really is. He's really freaking cool. I'm sorry. I know we're supposed to not like him right now.
No,
but anytime he uses the little mirror puck things, I fangirl out like crazy. It's just so cool.
Not to call out Willow, but he's our sad, angry frown clone.
He totally is. Sad, angry frown clone is basically Crosshair.
He is our sad, angry frown prince of the Bad Batch. Yeah, right? So, we're allowed to like him and we're allowed to woobify him because he is baby and he hasn't learned yet, right?
He is baby.
He is a baby and he hasn't learned yet. And so, they sneak in and they basically storm the castle. It's a very on the nose metaphor for going into the inner heart of what is being said. Right?
Nice.
And so they storm the castle, which is, of course, when you storm a castle, you're going into the hidden heart of what is being said thematically and symbology wise. And, they climb the spiral staircase, and through the use of kind of this leapfrog technique and mirrors, right? Mirrors to see around corners and to shoot up the thing, they're able to actually get where they need to go. They separate into different groups and they get to the top and kill the tactical droid through this elaborate multi-mirror flip up in the air. No one else can do this. So Crosshair is very special, right? He is very, very special. This is really, really important that even though you have a very special thing about you, you can still be trapped as the tool of a machine or the tool of a culture that only wants to hurt and dominate.
Right. And his special talent is inherently
domination.
Yeah.
And mutilation. Yeah. And violence and killing. Yeah. They catch up with Governor Grotto, and she's, Governor Ames has the gun to his head. And so Cody steps up and he's like, I'm going to take off my mask.
I'm not going to lie.
About the masks.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I got emotional during this scene, really, because when he starts specifically using the word negotiating with her,
peaceful negotiation.
Obi-Wan's thing was being the negotiator, and he was his go-to in the Clone Wars. So again, I got really sad. Oh my God, he's learned so much, and Obi-Wan would be so proud of him, and he thinks he killed him, and oh God, it's awful. But I mean, it was also not awful. It was also such a good such a good scene to put in there, showing that that's, you know, he did learn. He learned from Obi-Wan Kenobi how to do this kind of thing. And the fact that he takes off his helmet, also lays down his blaster on the floor and is like, let's just talk this out. But knowing that, yeah, there's no way this dude is going to let this go. You know, there's no way this governor is going to let this go. It's not going to end well. But the fact that he talked her into it. It was like, that was amazing. And then it's just over.
And she also challenged their understanding of the world, right? Like, end of the universe, like with, you know, raising Mina Bonteri to say they tried to use diplomatic choices, and Supreme Chancellor at the time, Palpatine, rejected it. So peace was never an option.
No.
So
and it really is, still isn't, because
no, it isn't, because the war, like, again, in this consumption idea, the dark side needs to consume. It needs to consume. It always needs more. And so peace is actually never an option. So even if the Galactic Empire controlled everything, there would still be more and more subjugation because the dark side needs more pain.
Yeah. And we get that pain in about 5 seconds after this beautiful scene.
And this is
because Crosshair can't help himself.
Yeah. So, like, she's like, okay, I trust you. You took off your mask. You took off this persona of this soldier. You spoke to me human to human. I trust you. Here's this doofus, Groton.
Have your doofus back, please.
Yeah, and Grun's like, you know, the voice actor did a really great job of having a very punchable voice. And you know, Cody's like, I'm not gonna do this, and he's like, good soldiers follow orders. And immediately after that, we get Crosshair shooting her dead. Okay.
Without hesitation.
Okay, so this is psychologically important for this episode. Crosshair killed his mother.
Oh, dude. Come on.
Tahnwi.
You're making it sadder even still.
I'm sorry, but it's all there.
Okay. I know. It's there. You're right.
And he will keep on killing the different aspects of himself, right? So Kylo was wrong when he said, kill it if you have to. He was very wrong. Like, you cannot kill these aspects of yourself. You're going to keep on trying to fight yourself in this, and you're going to be wrong, right? And he did it. And then Cody's response to him is, you know, we make our own choices, and, you know, we have to live with our own decisions, and we have to live with them.
And then he yeets.
And then he's like, that peace out.
Out of here. Yeah.
Peace out, Crosshair. Like, you didn't get it, you know, and you're not ready. You're not ready to come back from the underworld, basically. That's, like, from a mythological perspective. I'm very much coming to the opinion that all characters that are villains are just stuck in the underworld. They just haven't figured out their moment, their lowest point that allows them to finally understand their interconnectedness with everything else, and have an apotheosis that allows them to have a journey home.
I can't wait for his, though.
Oh, it'll be great. I can't wait
for his. It's going to be so good. And this, I mean, okay, you can say, well, he killed the governor. How is that any kind of evidence that Cody actually made a difference in his way of, you know, the way he's thinking about his life? But he did. Like, he for sure did. He made a huge impact. Like, whether he knows it or not, and whether Crosshair even can tell yet for sure or not, he did.
We had this sad bunk scene, which is like what we got with Callus, right?
Right. It's exactly Callus.
You're a prisoner in your own. You're a prisoner in your own BS, Crosshair.
Right.
And
exactly.
I really love Rampart's line. All of these clones around you keep disappearing.
Disappearing.
Right. And,
so good.
you know, this is like such a great metaphor for, like, you're stuck in your darkness. You're stuck in depression. You're stuck in wherever you are. And people are like, dude, I cannot handle you.
Yeah.
And they're like,
right.
For my own well-being, I gotta go.
Exactly.
Right. And
you can't be responsible for someone else's darkness. They have to do the work themselves, basically.
Exactly.
You can't, no matter how much Cody wanted to help him, he couldn't.
Yeah.
He wasn't ready, like you said.
And his line, you know, your own choices, your own decisions, and you have to live with them, is one of those lights that Crosshair needs. But Crosshair has to make these decisions on his own. So it was a really fantastic episode psychologically, as well as, it had really strong story beats for our sad, angry frown clone.
Mm-hmm. That's hard to say. I have a hard time saying frown prince, and frown clone is even harder.
I'm going to do it.
You have to practice.
It's gonna happen. All right. Any other final thoughts before we move on to episode 4 faster?
Final thoughts. Well, I did find it very, very interesting that the 2 episodes, the episode right before this, where we're on Sereno and another separatist planet, we meet someone on that planet who is very anti-Dooku and lets them know, I'm not a separatist. I'm a Serenian. This place existed before you. It's not all about the war. It's not all about the separatists. And then the very next week, we meet Tawny, who is again, hardcore separatist, hardcore Dooku stan. Mina Bantari's my bestie. She's in it to win it, basically, for the separatists still. And that they put those 2 episodes back to back is so Star Wars. For them to do that to us is it's so
these 2 things can exist in the same galaxy, and
many of the truths we cling to depend on your point of view. It's so that I loved that. I loved it.
Yeah,
I thought that was such a cool.
I think this will be quite good when it's when you kind of watch them in all at once kind of thing.
Right. Binging it.
Yeah, binging it. Yeah, that's the word.
Binge.
The binge,
which I plan to do.
Let's talk about episode 4, faster. So we start out with finding out that, hey, Tech, Wrecker, and Omega are just hanging around the bar. Omega and Wrecker are playing holo chess. And Omega
so
beats
cute.
Wrecker, kind of with a sacrificial move. At the end, she's got one person standing, right?
Yep.
Interesting. And Sid approaches them and is like, we got a mission. I love her so much.
I love her so much. Oh, do you really? Because I love her too. And I know
love her.
I keep hearing grumbles about her, about how we need to talk about Sid, Marie Claire. We really need to
let's talk about Sid. It's Rhea Perlman. How can I not love her?
Exactly.
She has to be messy. She has to learn.
She has to be.
Women are not typically allowed to be messy on screen, not know better. She's I'm all about the money. And we get lots of examples of this type of archetype, sort of an older woman archetype in Star Wars now. We had the bar owner in Resistance. We have Sid. This is an older woman character that they are definitely trying to play up.
For sure.
Yeah.
And is it just, okay, it's true confessions. I probably am the only person on Earth that didn't realize this until just recently. And by recently, I mean 2 days ago, that she's a Trandoshan.
Yeah. She's just I'm
dumb. I don't understand my brain.
A larger woman who has had a lot of Mantel mix.
Which must be delicious because they're playing for it.
Mantel
that's
mix
their
is
currency.
Totally Chicago mix, popcorn.
You're right. It is.
It's Chicago
so
mix. It's the cheddar, caramel.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, you're right.
It's Chicago mix. You're from that area, Michelle. Come on.
I can't even buy that stuff and bring it in my house. That's how good it is. I can't go near the stand at the mall. That's how good it is. So I understand that that's their currency.
Martel mix. Yeah.
But I don't know. I'll watch a thing and I'll see 16 metaphors in the first 5 minutes. And then I watch this for a year and I don't realize she's a Trandoshan. What is wrong with my brain? But it's very, very interesting now that I realize she's a Trandoshan, because I had this whole theory last season that it started out with Omega, on Camino with her quote unquote mom, Nala Se. Then she gets separated from her. And throughout the entire rest of the season, she keeps meeting these feminine figures that she crosses paths with occasionally.
Right. Yeah.
But really, Sid is her new kind of mom figure. She's the one she spends the feminine figure she spends the most time with for the most part. So
she is essentially a Baba Yaga.
Oh, and yeah, interesting. I didn't
She's
think
a
about
dark
her
mother.
like that. But yeah, she kind of is.
She had her too good mother, which was the scientist who treated her so well on Camino. And Sid is the dark mother, the bargaining mother, the one that has expectations of her and gives her tasks. I could probably go into the whole Baba Yaga-ness of Star Wars at some point. But yeah, no, Baba Yaga being the witch archetype in a lot of Russian and Eastern Europe folklore. She is often considered to be a boogeyman. And there's the fairy tale and folklore around Vasilisa. And Vasilisa is like fairy tale wise connected to Cinderella with stepsisters and stuff like that. But Vasilisa is sort of tricked to go and get fire from Baba Yaga and is given tasks to complete. And as she is trying to complete these tasks from Baba Yaga, she listens to the doll that was given to her by her mother, who basically tells her how to complete these tasks. The doll represents her inner intuition and trusting herself. She has helpers along the way, ants and other things that sort of help her get through these different trials. And Baba Yaga eventually sort of sees the worth in Vasilisa and gives her fire in the form of a flaming skull that burns her stepfamily to death.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
It's dope. It's fairy tale and old school folklore. And so, yeah, there's death. But yeah, she's a Baba Yaga. She is the witch. She is a crone, certainly.
Right. Very grumpy, very grumpy. Questionable ethically. Sometimes.
Yeah, like I could argue that she is, with her and with, the mom in Andor, we have more crones in Star Wars.
Oh, yeah. Oh, she's elite.
Femme crones,
Marva?
Yeah. Marva, yeah. Yeah, so, no, I will talk about Sid any day, any time. She's great.
Yeah, I the more complex she gets, the better. Like this episode, so interesting because you know she's got some back alley deals going on all the time. We have this new character, Fee, still not really sure what their relationship is.
She'll come back,
yeah, she'll be back. But this particular episode, she only takes them with her because she needs muscle, because she knows this dude's going to mess with her when they get to I forget what the planet's called. It's interesting. Oh, Safatoma.
Yep.
She knows she's going to need some backup. So that's the only reason she even asked them to come. But, while they're there, of course, Omega is like, we have to help her.
Make good choices.
Yeah. Make good choices. Like, we can't leave her with these thugs. We got to do something. Come on, we got to do something. Like, she's my Baba Yaga. I gotta do something for her.
Exactly. Like, she can't even. The choices are not selfishness for Omega. She has to have compassion for others, even if they haven't been maybe 100% good to her. She's still like, we're a weird family. I don't know if you saw this, but we live in her house. Like, like we can't just like let her die. We can't just let her get captured.
And it's so interesting when what is that guy's name?
Teo?
Oh God, Teo's a whole other conversation.
Grinny
Malegi.
Yeah.
Literally telling her, "You're not fooling me." Basically, I know who you are. You are a gangster just like me. You're not going to change. And she's literally saying, but I am.
Yeah.
But I did. And I'm not the same. And it's like, poor Sid. She's having this struggle inside of herself. Yeah.
Ernie Hudson, who, of course, was Winston in the Ghostbusters movies. Which
that was.
I was like, I know this voice somewhere. And I looked it up. I'm like, yes.
I actually didn't recognize it. I had to look it up. I'm like, oh my God, am I dumb? Of course that's him. But that scene between those two made me so, metaphorically happy because, she's arguing with herself. She's basically like, can I change? Yeah. I do want to change, but no, I don't think I can. Yeah, I don't want to be like you. And Omega's,
Yeah.
I want to live up to Omega's expectations, sort of, kind of feels like to me at this
Yeah,
point.
because she's kind of like this, like I don't know, a young conscience of everyone around her, right?
Yeah.
I
love Omega.
also I love that this whole episode is about Sid, and sort of really drives home the point which we got in earlier episodes, is that Sid feels the winds changing and is trying to get money fast.
Yeah, totally.
i.e.
It's very
calling the episode faster. And that there's this idea that if you only have money, it'll be the answer to all of your problems. But with the churning of the empire, no one can escape the problems that the empire brings.
well, and so far, her two big money grabbing, ideas they've walked away with nothing but themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
They haven't earned a single. I mean, they haven't been able to steal or take or any, like, they're in the same spot now that they were when they started it this season. They can't seem to get away with anything. So that's exactly what you're saying. Like, it doesn't matter what you do.
Yeah.
The empire is eventually gonna eat you too, and you think the money's the answer, and it's just not gonna be.
Yeah.
No.
And it's so, like, to your point, these episodes, although they're completely framed differently, they show the lesson that we need to learn is that you're going to get eaten eventually. And also, nobody is free unless everybody is free. So good, right?
Right.
So they arrive at Safatoma and they are introduced to the racer and the race and all of it. It's just so cool. I really like
It's so much fun.
this
I
speeder
loved it.
concept where they have like guns and it, like, I'm not gonna lie, this felt a little like somebody was like, what if we made Mario Kart in Star
Yeah.
Wars?
Yeah.
Like the little like speeders, and it's got little guns and it's got little shields and like, yeah, I don't know.
tunnels
It's just,
in
the tunnels, and they can go on the walls and stuff. Like, yeah, it felt, and also it felt a little bit like Star Wars Racer too.
Oh, see, I don't know anything about that game.
Yeah.
I barely know anything about Mario Karts. I don't game. Let me just be on full disclosure. I've never played Mario Karts in my life. All I've ever done is watch other people play Mario Karts. It's adorable.
Yeah.
It's fun to watch, actually.
But
don't even need to
you
be
see
playing
it, right? You see the, like,
Oh, yeah,
I'm
totally.
shooting the guys. Yeah. And they're introduced to Teo, who was played by Ben Schwartz, which I have seen him in Middleditch and Schwartz, which I think you can watch on Netflix. I highly recommend it. He's a brilliant improviser and comedian.
I've never seen that. What's it called?
Middleditch and Schwartz.
Wow, it's hard to say.
And
too.
it's, yeah. So it's a set of 3 improvs where him and the last name Middleditch, I don't remember his first name, Mike,
Thomas?
Michael, Thomas.
I think it's Thomas.
Maybe. I go through all the names in the but they basically ask for audience suggestions, and then they set up an entire like scene, sort of play and improv it from scratch. Just the
Oh,
two
wow.
of them.
That would be highly entertaining, I'm sure, because this guy is so funny.
It's really good. Like, it's very good. So if you get a chance, watch Middleditch and Schwartz. It's very good.
I know him, of course, from Parks and Rec.
Oh yeah.
Raphael is my favorite character on that show. So the minute I heard the voice, I'm like, you got to be kidding. Is this? It is. It is actually Jean-Ralphio's droid alter ego. It's the same guy.
Yeah.
It's the same guy.
And like Teo is like ultra confident and knowing, like, this is the way. This is how we do things. This is the only way we do things. There's only one way to do things. And he wins. Like, that's, to be fair, he wins that first race. Right?
He does win. And I love the dichotomy between him and Tech. The funniest thing in the world. Like, the way he just stares at Teo, like, are you kidding? Like, he doesn't say anything. He just stares at him, kind of like Ron used to stare at Jean-Ralph. I can't say the guy's name. You know who I mean. John
Yes.
Ralphio on Parks and Rec, like, you're a ridiculous person. And Tech's thinking you're a ridiculous droid. But it's very cool that they, it's a very clear comparison again between droids and clones. And what does Tech do this entire episode? He's on his little iPad or whatever that thing is that he carries around, studying.
Yep.
For no reason other than just to know what the best strategy would be. He didn't know he was going to end up racing.
Yeah, but he's trying to learn and he's trying to understand, how to do things different, how to do things better. Mm-hmm. And what's important is Teo doesn't predict that sort of there would be something that would take away from his ability to win. The rules in some way would change. And it's because Melgi is like, I want my money, right? Like, and he interferes with the race, and it's not something that Teo predicts could happen, showing that like clones can change, people can change, droids can't, right? So, kind of showing that differential, and that we are people and we can change and we can make different decisions and we can try to improve things. And maybe, it's going to be difficult, but there are better ways to go about these things. And so let's get into the race. So Teo ends up getting destroyed twice. Kind of,
You get run over by Alexis. I'm sure everybody's made that joke in the world at this point about Teo getting run over, but I had to do it because that is funny.
It absolutely is. And then, so they're like, what are we going to do? And at this point, Sid has been taken captive by Melgi, and of course, Omega wants to make sure to help her. But Tech's like, you know what? I can do this. And he's not been the one to step up and say, yeah, we should put ourselves in danger for this, for somebody who's like
he's usually like tactical. This is the, this is how it's going to go. Don't, stick to the plan, please, etc. And this time he's like, I've been studying. I know what I'm talking. I can do it. It's fine. Like, he even is a little insulted when everybody's surprised at the end that he wins. He's like, what, you thought I couldn't do it? Like, what?
Yeah. And he's been butting heads with Echo with how Echo's been like, we need to care about other people.
Right. And they're so polar opposites. I love those two together.
I mean, they are technically the droids of the Bad Batch. So
that is true.
Yeah. And also just, hey, Omega's there and she's like, hey, let's do this. And Wrecker's like, I don't care. When do you need me to punch somebody?
I was going to say, what do I lift? Who do I punch?
Exactly. And so Tech is like, comes in, he's got a plan. He asks for his, support from Omega to say, look at the plans. And she's like, there's a giant pit. That's why nobody takes that way, but it's shorter. And he's like, oh, okay. But he quickly realizes all of his assumptions about how the race would work are not what he needs, right? So what Teo had told him is the way the race should work is not going to be how the race should work for him. So he needs more defense, right? So he amps up his shields and he amps up his engines. But then he very quickly realizes that there's a lot of extra weight by carrying around weapons.
Yeah.
Right? Which, of course, is the straight one-to-one metaphor for doing violence to others in this episode. So we have that repeated, theme. And so he's racing along and he's behind, and he makes the decision to drop the violence, right? That's what we're saying. Mm-hmm. And there is another Bell Hooks quote I'm going to pull out for this, which is, ultimately, the men who choose against violence, against death, do so because they want to live fully and well, and because they want to know love. And fundamentally, having compassion for Sid, even though you might not agree with her, is loving her. Wanting to save her is loving her. And, he's willing to be like, I have to take a chance. I have to defend myself, but I'm going to be faster and I'm going to do this better if I am not trying to hurt others. And in fact, when it's down the final corridor and the two other racers are trying to use violence against him, it's it's almost like a judo move or a very Zen-like move. He just kind of gets out of the way and lets them interact. It's a Jedi-esque concept, you know? But I would even say the Jedi became more violent with time. And so it's almost even better than that.
It's the first time I watched it, I guess I wasn't like, maybe I looked away for a second or something. And I looked away at the second he did get out. He somehow got out of what my husband is now calling the Malachi Crunch. And I don't know if anybody gets that reference, but people in my house, it basically is the Malachi Crunch from Happy Days when they're trying to, and they call it a crunch.
Yeah.
They literally call it a crunch.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, these guys like Happy Days, obviously, whoever wrote this. But I backed up. I'm like, wait a minute. How did that happen so fast? Because it is very fast. It's very like he just literally just goes whoop, up onto the side and then they attack each other instead of him. Mm-hmm. And that's all it took. It's just get out of the way.
Yeah, get out of the way.
Get out of the way.
Move
out of the way. And the whole thing with this was absolutely the comedy in this episode we're not even talking about it. This was a friggin' funny episode.
It really was.
There was so many funny things. But one of the funniest things is when the race first starts and, you know, they're watching him on the monitor.
Just Tech, the announcer guy.
Tech. That is funny too. That was actually hilarious. All the names of the racers are ridiculous. And then it's Tech, just Tech. But I'm talking about when they're actually racing and he's last and Omega tells Wrecker that he's last and he's like, Tech, you got to be in front to win. Like the most obvious thing in the world. You got to be in front to win. And Tech responds with, I got it. It's strategy. Don't worry about it. It's very Zen. It's very Jedi. It's like, you don't need to worry. I know how this is going to go. And it's not going to take a whole lot of aggression on my part to win. I don't need to get pushed to the front to win. Trust me. Yeah. It's going to be fine.
It's great. And they save Sid. They're ready to fight. One of the racers is ready to kill. Mm-hmm. They show up, they save her. And, the gangster Meligi just doesn't want to fight this go around, right?
Right.
And so in so many ways, by saving Sid, they are reaffirming that compassion is the right thing. And yeah, she says she owes them. And Maligi is like,
don't trust her.
Don't trust her. Watch your backs.
Which, I've seen some tweets basically saying, oh yeah, Sid's going to so stab them all in the back. She's going to so be the one that turns them in. And I just don't, if that happens, I don't think it's going to be her doing. I think they might think that it was, and it's going to cause a conflict maybe. Mm-hmm. But if that happens, I don't see her turning her surrogate child now at this point, who she does obviously have some feelings for, over to the friggin' Empire. Like, I don't see that happening.
Yeah, I think
I do think it might be a misunderstanding, and maybe Fee will be involved. It's because she doesn't care about the Bad Batch at all, or Omega. Yeah. So maybe she'll be the one.
She wants to flirt with Tech.
It's involved. That is true. She likes him. But I just don't. That warning at the end. I just think that's saying that, well, that guy can't change. So he just assumes that someone who is his peer can't change. Even though she's literally sitting there telling him, I'm not the same person. You don't know what you're talking about. And he still warns that. You know what I mean? It's just not, I don't believe you, Malegi. I think you're full of it. I think she's definitely changing. And why also, now that I know that she's a Trandoshan, even though apparently that's obvious, would they make her a Trandoshan if they weren't going to have some sort of character development? Because, Trandoshans are very stereotyped and very well known for being horrible, violent slavers. Like, they do the worst of the worst types of things. So why would you make Sid one of them if you were just going to make her be a Trandoshan? Yeah. Like the stereotypical Trandoshan.
No, it's because she has to be scary on the outside.
And I'll drop another thing, and you're gonna probably be like, reaching and crazy. But her name, they give us her full name.
I know they did. They did, yeah.
I knew you would be excited about that. You're the first person I thought of, like, Marie Claire's going to be so happy we got a first full name and a last name. I didn't
write it down, but we did get the full name.
Siderin Scaleback is her name.
Yeah.
And the second I heard that, after I thought of you, I thought of Siddhartha. And the lesson of which this book is love is the answer is basically the theme of the book. No, in the end.
I love it. It's great.
Okay, I'm not crazy.
No. I mean,
my son / co-host is going to be like, look at me like, dude. And call me dude and look at me like this and go, I don't know. But once I heard that her whole name is Siderin, it just kind of sounds very similar. And that is what she's learning in the end.
It is, yeah.
Like you just said, this is the lesson.
Like, she couldn't get out of her problems with violence.
Right.
She couldn't.
True.
She brought Wrecker, but with others and love, which is what Omega was trying to teach her, you can. Right. Interesting.
Yeah. I love Sid. I will defend Sid forever. I think she's great.
This show got all of the things. It clicks all of the boxes. And you know what? It does it in a super fun way. So
even in this episode, like you're saying, that this episode is so different from the Solitary Clone.
I know. It's weird to pair them together.
So different.
But I actually think it kind of helps because it's the same themes with droids, with anti-violence, with talking about things. And we have them in almost like a mirrored perspective of what Crosshair is going through and sort of like killing aspects of himself to try and find solutions. And we have like, Omega and Tech and Wrecker connecting with their inner mother figure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's good stuff,
and
man.
Loving that and like rescuing that dark mother.
Delicious.
It's good. It's good stuff. Yeah. It's just like they're short, bite-sized pieces. And so like you almost need to kind of think about them in this larger archetypical way to make them like to like have the understanding of what they're trying to say. You got to go galaxy brain to like see the point, right?
Oh, so many people using the F word about this episode. I just want to hit them over the head with the F-I-L-L-E-R word, filler. This is the dreaded filler episode. No.
Okay, so
first of all, it's too funny to be a filler episode. It's hilarious.
Yeah, let me just say, so character is the plot.
Yeah.
Plot is the character. And Tech understanding that he needed to do something for others was incredibly significant this episode. Mm-hmm. And so, boo on you, people. I don't know. Like,
huge boo.
If you don't understand that, like, what people go through changes who they are and allows them to experience transformation, like, and thus the character grows and that's the plot. Like, we only read stories to connect with characters that show us how transformation is possible. Go and read more books. I don't know.
Listen to different podcasts. Also,
well, they're obviously not listening to my podcast.
No, nor mine either, because we talk a lot about some of this. You are well beyond my realm.
Oh no, but this is fun. This is so much fun. Any other thoughts before we wrap up?
Can I just like drop the sound design of this episode?
Oh my god,
David W. Collins, what the heck? And he did a bunch of tweets. I really love the
speeders. They were really unique and cool.
Yeah, he did I don't know if you saw all his tweets about this particular episode. Really interesting. Because somebody said something about, I assume, you used pod racing sound and then just like worked on it and made it a little different. He's like, actually,
we went to the Ben Burt catalog.
It says, he said, interestingly, no Phantom Menace pod racer engine sounds were used in the faster episode of The Bad Batch. All sounds were newly created in a similar style Ben Burt homage, but were unique to give Riot Racing its own feel.
So good. I love it.
It was so
like
good.
Storytelling through, it's going to be a different thing. They're different things, and so they have to sound different. And so using a new sound, so good.
He used This is really funny. I thought where is it? Something about the boost, like right after Tech drops the weapons and he gets that boost of speed. He said it's based on a recording of air hissing out of a balloon with explosions and mechanical elements mixed in.
That's great.
So he's basically riding around on a deflating balloon. So cool. Anyway, I just wanted to bring that up because I thought the sound design was really, really cool and interesting.
So good.
And new. And you could tell it definitely wasn't pod racing, though that sound tableau or whatever you want to call it was very different. It was a lot snappier, a lot speedier, fit the racers perfectly. Loved it. And then maybe there was one other thing. Oh, the fact this is just a little stupid thing, but these other racers' names were so hilarious. I wonder if they had like a company-wide submit your suggestion, the dumbest thing you can think of for this racing scene that we need, because we need some really silly names. Because we got Haxon, the War Gnome, Trajanix. What is that? Quick Draw Quasar, the Trickster Flash Raktor. Like these are ridiculous. And finally, Tech. And the crowd falls silent. Like, and the announcer is like, is that it? Is that his name? Okay, I guess that's his name. All right, let's go. Let's start the race.
Tech. Yeah, and Tech wins. Yeah, that was
so funny.
Oh, so good.
So the comedy was great. Besides all the heady stuff being great, the comedy was great.
I mean, it was in a delicious package, which is always great.
That's what this show does the best, to be honest. When it does this and when it does like what it's been doing so far this whole season, that's why I love this show, because you can look at it on the surface and this is a funny, fun racing episode in the tradition of, George Lucas loves his racing, which is great.
Yeah, it's like American Graffiti. It's pod racers. It feels
so perfect.
So Star Wars.
Yeah, but then if you just like peel back a little bit, there's all this really great character development, like you said, going on, and
delicious thematic material that ties into the overall sort of conflict of the galaxy, as well as what the Bad Batch are up against. And it's really just such a solid, these two episodes were quite solid to me, really good.
Yeah,
really good.
I agree. And the first two so far, all of them this season, it's really good show. People need to give it a chance. I feel like some people don't quite want to give it a chance, maybe, but there's a lot going on.
Yeah, there is. Michelle, thank you so much for joining me and talking with me about Bad Batch.
Of course. Thank you. Anytime. I always tell you, literally anytime, Marie-Claire. Literally anytime, and I mean it.
I really appreciate you so much. Where can people find you if they're looking for all your stuff and your own thoughts on the Bad Batch and other Star Wars?
Yeah. So I host a podcast with my son, who's a grown-up. He's not a baby son. He's 22. And we do a podcast called Unknown Regions Podcast. Sometimes we do that because he's very, very, very busy. He's going to graduate, though, in May, finally, from DePaul with 2 degrees. So if you're looking for a composer or a sound person, he's your guy. Look him up. He's going to be roaming the streets after May. I think he graduates in May. And maybe then we'll actually get to publish a little more often. So, because he will be a little less busy. But we do have that podcast. And then I am on Twitter. My personal handle's at FreyAdjacent, and we have a podcast handle. It's at Unknown Reg Pod. And that's really the best way if you want to reach out and get in touch for some reason.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the show, and I look forward to talking about more Bad Batch for the rest of the season. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you for listening to What the Force. I'm Marie-Claire Gould, your host. Our music is provided by Christy Carew for What the Force. We have a Patreon at patreon.com/whattheforce. We would like to thank all our patrons, especially those who love and are obsessed with What the Force: Melody, Night Huntress, In Wild Space, How Rude, Anna Perez, Neil, Christian Luca, Josh Johnson, Scott C., and Susan. Make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube or leave a 5-star review on iTunes or other pod apps. It helps people find the show. Check out our other channel on YouTube, What the Fiction. You can connect with us on Twitter at WT4 Show, What the Force Podcast on Facebook, and our website, whattheforce.ca. We also have a Discord. Links are in the liner notes. Feel free to reach out and start a conversation. Cheers.